Good evening and welcome to the September 12th, 2023 work session of the Gaston County Board of Commissioners. My name is Chad Brown and I serve as chairman of the board as well as a commissioner from Riverbend Township. I would like to thank Spectrum Cable and AT&T for making it possible for our citizens and viewers. For our television audience, I would like to present your Gaston County Commissioners, beginning on my far right.
Good evening, I'm Ronnie Worley, South Point Township.
Good evening, I'm Kathy Cloniger, representing the Dallas Township.
Bob Hovis, Crowder's Mountain Township.
Good evening, Tom Kigger, Gastonia Township.
Thank you. Commissioner Johnson.
I saw her a few minutes ago.
Commissioner Johnson, are you still there?
Yes, I'm here.
Commissioner Kim Johnson is joining us via the telephone tonight. So first item on the agenda is proclamations, commendations, awards, and certificates. Commissioner Worley is to proclaim the commemorative events of September 11th, 2001. And I think there were some pictures out front that you saw that Commissioner Kieger had presented out front. So everyone will look at those as you leave, because yesterday was such a special Remembrance Day, especially after the heartfelt tragedy that we had during that. I think everybody who's of age will know where they were during that time of that, and it'll never be forgotten in our memory. Mr. Worley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would invite Chief Zeal, Mark Lanfair from EMS, if y'all would come. If there's any representatives from the fire service here tonight, we'd invite them. I don't believe I see any. But as we recognize the events of September 11th and also express our appreciation to our first responders, police and fire and EMS. Well, as everyone knows, yesterday, September 11th, 2023, we celebrated, or well, not a celebration at all, we commemorated the events of September 11th, 2001. Whereas the terrorist attacks of September 11, 2001 have forever changed the lives of Americans, and 22 years later, the people of the United States and around the world continue to mourn the tremendous loss of innocent life. Whereas on the morning of Tuesday, September 11, 2001, the Al-Qaeda terrorist group coordinated a series of attacks on the United States using 4 hijacked passenger airlines to kill more than 3,000 people and injure over 6,000 others. Whereas passengers of American Airlines Flight 11, United Airlines Flight 175, American Airlines Flight 77, and United Airlines Flight 93, along with thousands of victims in the World Trade Center in New York City, the Pentagon in Arlington County, Virginia, and also in Pennsylvania, perished in those attacks. Whereas America will be forever grateful for the diligent acts of bravery and sacrifice of first responders, law enforcement personnel, state and local officials, volunteers, and countless others who aided the innocent victims of those attacks. In doing so, bravely risked their lives and gave their lives. Whereas our country's resolve has been demonstrated time and again over the last 22 years by the sacrifices of those who stepped forward to protect the cause of freedom. Members of the United States Armed Services, intelligence agencies, diplomatic service, homeland security, law enforcement personnel, and first responders and their families have given so much to protect our freedom and defend the security of the United States. Whereas because of those sacrifices, September 11th will never and should never be just another day in the hearts and minds of all people of the United States. Now therefore be it resolved that the Gaston County Board of Commissioners recognizes the 22nd anniversary and commemorates the lives of those lost and injured in the attacks, and honored their loved ones for their courage and their faithfulness to endure and carry on. The board further salutes the heroes that placed themselves in harm's way on that fateful day and those sacrifices of those who served and continue to serve to keep us safe at home and abroad. And we stand together, united, steadfast as a nation. Be it further resolved that the Gaston County Board of Commissioners recognizes September 11 as First Responder Day, an annual legal holiday as established by the North Carolina General Assembly as part of the 2017 Appropriation Act. And this will be adopted the 26th day of September 2023. So I'd invite Chief Zeal and Chief Lanfair if y'all would have comments, but I appreciate you and all your folks' service, and thank you for the what you do every day. Mark, appreciate you folks and all. And also the fire folks, if y'all would like. Thank y'all very much.
No, but if you want to go ahead and do that, go ahead.
And also, we'd have a proclamation to recognize September 17th through 2023 as National Adult Day Services Week in Gaston County. And is Steve Eaton, and I've seen Angie Karchmer here tonight, if y'all would come forward, and Karen Creech also to accept. Y'all, like, appreciate y'all being here. Whereas since 1983, under former President Reagan's leadership, adult day service programs have been recognized and celebrated through a National Adult Day Services Week. Whereas in Gaston County, adult day services are providing professional and compassionate services for adults, enabling functionally and cognitively impaired adults to receive daytime care in a safe and supervised setting. Whereas the adult daycare service programs provide an alternative to placement in long-term facilities, allowing for many participants to age in place. Whereas adult day services programs offer participants an opportunity to socialize and enjoy peers and participate in a variety of activities designed to keep adults engaged. Whereas these programs provide much-needed assistance, respite for caregivers, and in many cases allow for caregivers to remain employed. Whereas bringing more public awareness to the importance of adult day services through education, outreach, and the positive experience of participants and families continues to expand the understanding of the crucial role these services play in providing care for our community's older adults. Now therefore be it resolved that the Gaston County Board of Commissioners recognizes the week of September 17 through 23 as National Adult Day Services Week. And we celebrate adult day services in Gaston County and across the nation and urge its citizens to honor and celebrate this special week. And this also will be adopted on the 26th of September, 2023. Steve or Angie or Karen, if you'd like to accept this, I appreciate y'all. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everybody. Just wanted to give a little bit and reiterate the benefits of adult day services in our county. Adult day services do help to delay long-term care placement. So individuals that come to our program are able to remain at home for a longer period of time. We actually have one individual who's been in our program for over 20 years. And that means that that caregiver was able to remain employed, and also she was able to remain at home with loved ones. So we also, those are some of the successes that we've had at the center. And we also try to provide a good quality of life for caregivers as well as the participants that we serve. I believe that you should enjoy life to the day you take your last breath. And that means regardless of whether or not you have a disability or a limitation or dementia, that you should enjoy life. We had a baseball game at the center with the seniors, and it included a beach ball and a styrofoam bat. And I was in my office, and I heard such laughter coming from the group that I had to go out to see what was going on. And they had the time of their lives. And so you want to provide good quality of care for those individuals until they take their very last breath. We had a senior prom several years ago for our seniors, and we had a DJ, we had food, we had people from the community to donate their time, and they had an absolute ball. And afterwards I talked to an individual, and she said, "That was the best day of my life." And I said, "Of your life?" She said, "Of my entire life." She said, "I never got to go to my senior prom." And she said, "I never got to have my makeup done, my hair done." She said, "I never got to dress up." So I thought I was reminding individuals of the things that they used to do. We're introducing new things that they've never done before in their lives. And so if I can give that to someone, and we have some great staff at the center, our activity specialists, they go out of their way to make sure that they have good quality programming and services. They're not just sitting there watching TV all day long. And so they found friendships, they connect with each other outside of the program. So I just want to thank you all for supporting our program in the county, and also recognize that you're not doing something to your loved one when you place them there, you're doing something for them. So just thank you, and have a good evening.
Thank you. Now call on Commissioner Hovis for proclamation to proclaim September 15th through October 15th of 2023.
If I could, I have three individuals I think who are going to join me. Officer Alvaro James, Diana Willman, and Juan Garcia. Y'all please come up here and join me. Thank you. Whereas Hispanic Heritage Month is an opportunity to celebrate the culture, history, and contributions of Hispanic American citizens and highlights their countless achievements and contributions. Whereas the observance began in 1968 as a Hispanic Heritage Week under President LB Johnson, sorry. It's hard for me to say LBJ. I mean, yeah, right. As observed annually until 1988, when it was expanded by President Ronald Reagan to the period of September the 15th through October the 15th and became National Hispanic Heritage Month, and has been celebrated annually since then. And whereas more than 60 million Americans of Hispanic origin today contribute to our national diversity, enriching the quality of American life with their century-old traditions that reflect the multi-ethnic and multicultural customs of their communities, while adding their own distinct and dynamic perceptives to the story of our country. And whereas this observance affords special opportunities to become more knowledgeable about Hispanic heritage and to honor the many Hispanic Americans who represent a significant and fast-growing demographic of Gaston County. We honor the invaluable ways these citizens contribute to our county and our country. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Gaston County Board of Commissioners hereby proclaim the month beginning September the 15th and ending October the 15th as National Hispanic Heritage Month, and urge all citizens to join with us in celebrating the great contributions of the Hispanic Americans to our country, our state, and our nation. This is to be proclaimed on the 26th day of September of 2023, and I have 3 certificates, one for each of you individuals. And if you wish to speak, you're more than welcome to.
Thank you.
I'll let y'all fight over the microphone.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Certainly.
Thank you. You won't take that long, I promise. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Dr. Eagle, we honored to receive the National Hispanic Heritage Month proclamation this year. On behalf of the Hispanic and Latin American communities of Gaston County, thank you, really thank you. This proclamation serves a meaningful reminder of the rich tapestry of the Hispanic culture and the contributions to our country. It is also a proof to the hard work and dedication of this vibrant community. We pledge to continue advocating for the recognition and appreciation of this important fragment of the population, not only during this month, but throughout the year. We look forward to continuing working together with the board and our communities to foster greater understanding, unity, and progress for all. I also want to thank Justin for helping with this proclamation, and a special thanks to Dr. Pearl Floyd, our DEI officer. I hope you're doing well. And a couple facts. From the 234,000 people that we have in Gaston County, we have about over 17,000 people from the Hispanic heritage. That is about 8%. And now I'm going to turn out to Officer James and Ms. Wilman. They're going to talk about a couple events. Thank you.
Gracias. My name is Diana Willman. I'm the Latinx Outreach Coordinator for the Health Department of Public Health. I welcome the declaration of Hispanic Heritage Month and use this moment to officially celebrate and honor the deep cultural traditions to the Hispanic community. And with that, I want to invite you to join us to the second annual Caminemos and Rodemos Juntos, or Walk and Roll Gaston Together. It's an event that is going to happen October the 7th from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. in downtown Gastonia. So this event is organized by Gaston County Public Health and Disability Rights. That's why the role. Our goal is to inspire, inform, and provide resources and services to the community, of course, with a focus of the Latino community. It features lively cultural walk starting at 10 a.m., music, flags, all of that, and followed by activities, a DJ, and entertainment in the pavilion area. Come and walk with us. You're welcome, please. I want to show you, this is our flyer. I also want to invite you for our upcoming art exhibit titled Somos Día a Día, We Are Day to Date, which will be hosted at the Gaston County Museum throughout the month of October. This exhibit showcases the representation of Latino families through the eyes and drawings of children. It was a collaboration And it's, I hope you guys can come and see it. And this is a little bit of the event in there. Right now, this exhibit is at the health department, and we're going to move it to the museum on October 1st. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Juan, if you'll make sure that we get that in the back so they can post it on the channel, please.
Hello, Commissioners. How are you? Good. I haven't seen y'all in a bit, right? Well, I'm Officer James. For those that don't know me, I'm the Latinx Community Coordinator / Event Coordinator for the city. And it's been 3 years in the making, this stuff that I've been doing. The population has increased immensely since I started 19 years ago in Gastonia. People are very pleased, and it's just a more of an overwhelming feeling that I get, that I don't see it as my job. I see it as a calling, and that's big, especially in this profession when, you know, not everything is the way you see it on TV, right? My job, what I do right now is I welcome everyone from all walks of life, very diverse in every event that I do. So I'm here to invite all of you to the 3rd Annual Latin American Festival, which will be held Sunday, September 24th, from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. So it's going to be an all-day event. It's going to be a lot of fun. For all you wrestling fans out there watching and in here, we will have Lucha Libre too from 2 to 3. But we have a lot of live music, a lot of food trucks, and people from all over the place come to just enjoy this great event. I mean, we got from Greensboro, Raleigh. They come from everywhere. My phone rings all the time. But again, thank you guys so much for this proclamation. It means a lot to me personally, and I hope to see you guys there. And I'm sorry I don't have a bigger poster than this one, but yeah, I didn't have time to print it out. But I will leave this for you guys.
Yeah, if
Okay.
you just make sure we get that, we'll put that on the TV for you guys as well.
Perfect.
And always keep us up to date. But thank you guys so much, and it's a joy for us as a Board of Commissioners to be able to recognize you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chief, if you'll step up, and Jonathan and your peers, I think anybody from the Gaston County Police, that this is one for you guys that we're doing this for. I want to tell a story before Jonathan gets up there. I got a call last week, and a lady was talking about how she had gotten some help trying to get a poster for someone in her family who had deceased. And when she got to the place of, she was trying to receive this poster or the sticker for her car, she realized she didn't have enough money. And a police officer stepped up and actually paid for that. By the time the woman came back, she said, you know, I found the money, whatever, and it found it already had been paid for. The problem was, it was Jonathan Pullen, our SRO, who was not a problem. It was a godsend for this lady who sat there and was very gracious. But then, the week after, we're here to make a certificate of commendation for Jonathan Pullen, the Gaston County Police Resource Officer, for his heroic actions rendering in the line of duty, which saved the life of Stanley Middle School student Caleb Self. And his dad, Caleb's dad, is also an SRO at East Gaston. I think he's here. And we also have Rodney Hamrick, who's an SRO as well. But the Gaston County Board of Commissioners hereby presents a certificate of commendation on this day, September 12th, 2023, to Officer Jonathan Pullen, School Resource Officer, Gaston County Police Department, for your heroic actions rendering in the line of duty August 21st, 2023, that saved the Stanley Middle School student's life, Caleb Self, from choking. The board further recognized your quick response, knowledge, and training, which provided critical in this emergency. Your dedication and care of others proudly reflect the highest ideals for the Gaston County Police Department and fellow law enforcement officers in North Carolina, the United States, and abroad. This to be adopted on the 26th day of September 2023. And I just can't say enough, because this is why you guys, our first responders, all the way through, but you went out of something that was outside of your line that you usually do, and we thank you so much. I know the families thank you, but the big thing is, this is what our police officers do every day. They go out in the line of duty and they sit there and they fight hard to make sure you're safe, but they also render aid in times that you would never know that they're there. So thank you to the department. I think that what we're doing in many strides across Gaston County, not just in the SRO department, but across. But Jonathan, man, I'm so proud to say that you're one of ours, and thank you so much.
No, I just want to take a second to thank you, Mr. Chairman, and to the board for taking an opportunity to recognize Officer Pullen here. He certainly put his skills and training to use that day, and we're grateful. I know Caleb and Caleb's father are grateful as well. We just want to thank y'all for taking the time to recognize the work that our officers are out there doing. Certainly was successful that day, and we appreciate the fact that he's one of ours as well.
He's one of the most humble. Would you care to speak? I tried, but thank you so much. I'll now call on Commissioner Keeger for the retirement ceremony commendation for award of sidearm and badge retired for police officer Chief Joseph D. Ramey. Mr. Keeger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess I'm going to do this alphabetically, and retired Sergeant Jeremy Burrell will be up. And everybody else, the whole family, come on, the police family.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
We have four individuals retiring from the county police department. Well, I think they've all retired already, but we're finally able to read their commendation and award them their badge and service sidearm. First up, whereas Police Sergeant Jeremy J. Burrell retired from the Gaston County Police Department on September 1, 2023, after serving 28 years with Gaston County. And whereas Police Sergeant Jeremy Burrell has requested that he be awarded the service sidearm Glock Model 45 MOS and badge worn during his service with the Gaston County Police Department pursuant to General Statute 20-187.2 and Board Resolution Number 259 dated October 27, 1983. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Gaston County Board of Commissioners, 1, the badge worn by Sergeant Burrell and his service sidearm will be declared surplus equipment. The badge worn by Sergeant Burrell be given to him as a remembrance of his service with the Gaston County Police Department. 3, the service sidearm will be permanently retired by the Gaston County Police Department and offered to Sergeant Burrell for a purchase of $1. 4, the Chief of the Gaston County Police Department is directed to award Sergeant Burrell with the service sidearm and badge as specified and worn by him during his service to Gaston County in accordance with the North Carolina General Statutes and the policy of this board. Be it further resolved that the Gaston County Board of Commissioners express their sincere gratitude for the dedicated service of Police Sergeant Jeremy Burrell and wishes him the best in his retirement. And this too will be adopted the 26th day of September. And I will congratulate you. I will pass that on to you. And if you want to say a word or two, that's up to you.
Just not a really wordy guy, but just, I'm 50 years old now. I've been, working here for close to 30. Sometimes feels like more, sometimes feels like less, but you don't do it without the folks behind me and next to me. And it's been an honor, and I thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Retirement's more dangerous than police work.
Next, we have the commendation for retired Master Police Officer Christopher G. Haskett. We'll get right to it again. Whereas Master Police Officer Christopher G. Haskett retired from the Gaston County Police Department on July 1, 2023, after serving 25 years with Gaston County. And whereas Master Police Officer Christopher G. Haskett has requested he be awarded the Service Sidearm Glock Model 45 MOS and badge worn during his service with the Gaston County Police Department pursuant to General Statute 20-187.2 and the Board Resolution Number 259 dated October 27, 1983. Now therefore be it resolved that the Gaston County Board of Commissioners, 1, the badge worn by Officer Haskett and his sidearm be declared surplus equipment. 2, the badge worn by Officer Haskett to be given to him as a remembrance of his service with the Gaston County Police Department. 3, the service sidearm be permanently retired by the Gaston County Police Department and offered to Officer Haskett for the purchase price of $1. And 4, the Chief of the Gaston County Police Department is directed to award Officer Hackett with the service sidearm and badge as specified and worn by him during his service to Gaston County. Be it further resolved that the Gaston County Board of Commissioners expresses their sincere gratitude for the dedicated service of Master Police Officer Christopher Haskett and wishes him the best on his retirement. And this too will be adopted on the 26th of September. And once again, congratulations.
All right, appreciate it.
That's yours. If you want to say anything.
First, I just like to thank the good Lord for keeping me safe and healthy for, close to 30 years and supporting my wife here and definitely the support of the board. Thank y'all for supporting the county police over these years, and these men and women behind me, they're family to me, and I'm gonna miss them, and but I thank them, every one of them, for getting me to this point, because I couldn't do it without their support. So thank y'all guys.
Thanks, sir. Next up is Assistant Police Chief Myron Scheller. You gonna get up here, huh? And once again, we'll get to it. Whereas Assistant Police Chief Myron K. Scheller retired from the Gaston County Police Department on August 1 of this year after serving 28 years. And whereas Assistant Police Chief Myron Scheller has requested that he be awarded his service sidearm, Glock Model 45 MOS, and badge worn during his service with the Gaston County Police Department pursuant to General Statute 20-187-2 and Board Resolution Number 259 dated October 27th, 1983. Now therefore be it resolved that the Gaston County Board of Commissioners, 1, the badge worn by Assistant Chief Scheller and his sidearm be declared surplus equipment. 2, the badge worn by Assistant Chief Scheller be given to him as a remembrance of his service with the Gaston County Police Department. 3, the sidearm be permanently retired by the Gaston County Police Department and offered to him for the purchase price of $1. And 4, the Chief of the Gaston County Police Department is directed to award Assistant Chief Scheller with the service sidearm and badge as specified and worn by him during his service to Gaston County in accordance with the North Carolina General Statutes and the policy of this board. Be it further resolved that the Gaston County Board of Commissioners express their sincere gratitude for the dedicated service of Assistant Police Chief Myron K. Scheller and wishes the best in his retirement. And this too will be adopted on the 26th day of this month. Congratulations, Chief.
I want to give my appreciation to the board, Mr. Stetzer, Dr. Eagle, your staff, for all the support over the years. Very much appreciated. I have to thank my lovely wife, Kelly, for her support. She had no idea in the world what being a police officer's wife was going to be like.
And there were some moments that she didn't like, but she's always been there for me and supported me. And I'd like to thank my brothers and sisters behind me for creating a second home for me for all the years I was here. I wouldn't have made it here without them as well. I've worked at another agency before I came here, and I've worked with a lot of the agencies along the way during my career. And I can say there's none other that I would put ahead of the county police. And I would ask that you guys just keep holding your heads high as you walk around and let everybody know that Gaston County's doing it right. So, thank you.
Tom, before you start, we'll get a picture with everybody, including the entire group afterwards.
After this
Yep.
one. Okay. Last but not least, next up to the podium, former Chief Joseph D. Ramey. Oh, you're here already.
Yes, sir. I knew you want to get out of here.
No, I appreciate the longer meetings.
Oh, so I got more time to speak.
You have all the time you want. Whereas Chief Joseph D. Ramey retired from the Gaston County Police Department on August 1 of 2023 after serving 29 years with the county, and whereas Chief Joseph D. Ramey has requested that he be awarded the service sidearm Glock Model 45 MOS and badge worn during his service with the Gaston County Police Department pursuant to General Statute 20-187.2 and Board Resolution Number 259 dated October 27, 1983. Now therefore be it resolved that the Gaston County Board of Commissioners, 1, the badge worn by Chief Ramey and a service sidearm be declared surplus equipment. 2, the badge worn by Chief Ramey be given to him as a remembrance of his service with the Gaston County Police Department. 3, the service sidearm be permanently retired by the Gaston County Police Department and offered to Chief Ramey for a purchase price of $1. 4, the Chief of the Gaston County Police Department is directed to award Chief Ramey with the service sidearm and badge as specified and worn by him during his service to Gaston County in accordance with the North Carolina General Statutes and the policy of this board. Be it further resolved that the Gaston County Board of Commissioners expresses their sincere gratitude for the dedicated service of Chief Joseph D. Ramey and wishes him the best in his retirement, to be adopted on the 26th day of September also. And Chief, it's a pleasure and a privilege to give that to you.
Thank you, Commissioner Keeger and Mr. Chairman and Board of Commissioners, Dr. Eagle and Bill. I'd be remiss if I didn't thank the good Lord above for the blessings that he's provided me over my 55 years on earth. Especially thank him for my lovely bride, Dr. Joy Cole here, who's been married to me for 26 years. So 26 of those 29 years, she's answered the phone and answered the call just as much as I have. And so I'm very blessed by that. Her and our son, Aaron Ramey, a student at Highland Tech, so keep an eye on him. Couldn't be here without them especially, but I also want to thank the men and women of the police department, especially my assistant chiefs, Chief Osborne, Chief Sheeler, who's retiring, Chief Human, Chief Roselle, Chief Mooney Smith, and Chief Gents, along with my command staffs and supervisors, especially the men and women that I've worked with over the last 29 and a half years. You don't get to a position as chief without a lot of people helping you along the way. Blair Hall out in the audience I see there. Just a lot of folks that help you get to this point. And so I'm honored to have been their chief. I especially want to thank the citizens of Gaston County for supporting the county police over these many years. It's been a great honor to be your chief and to serve you throughout these years. We have accomplished a few things in the last 30 years, just a couple things. I see Wendy out there, recovery court for folks in the community, electronic dispatch, a hospital room at the animal shelter, the mental health dog, the drone program, body-worn cameras. We survived COVID, worked through COVID, night vision for ERT, outer vest carriers, a brand-new ACE facility, SRO grant to expand the SRO program, gym equipment, SUVs, raises for telecommunicators, a new 800 radio system, scholarship for minorities at Belmont Abbey, funds from the state for a new mobile command, just a lot of different things. And of course, you don't do that without the support of commissioners and the manager's office, Dr. Eagle, Mr. Earl Mathers, who appointed me to chief. I thank each and every one of you for that and your support throughout those years. We don't do things like this without your support, and especially without all these great men and women behind me. And so thank you very much for this, and God bless you all. Thank you.
Folks, if you would, maybe go stand in front of the commissioners and we'll get a couple of shots.
As we come up, I'd like to say something to the families. I want to say thank you. The 4 gentlemen that you saw tonight who were retired receiving their badges and sidearms comes from a strong family, strong people who always support them. And it also comes from the family of the men and women they work with. So I want to say thank you to the families and to the men and women that you work with, because that's the most important part of this job. We get to sit up here and raise our hand, but you guys are the backbone, and say thank you for that.
Squeeze in. Come on, folks. The whole family. Oh, you're gonna have to squeeze in.
Jonathan, y'all come around here a little
Come on.
Gail, come on in there. Y'all come on in there. We ain't got that wide a lens. I know y'all think you got a lot of money, Come on in front, Jonathan. Come on there, Rodney. What's that saying?
That's directed to me. That's all right.
Thank you folks again for your dedicated service. Keep recruiting, Chief. You can see what it means when one leaves and when one comes. It's a dedication that you like no other for law enforcement and first responders, and we're very thankful to have them. Certificates of appreciation for public service. It is a great pleasure for the Gaston County Commission to honor citizens who have unselfishly given of their time, talent, skills, and energies in service as an appointee to one of our boards and commissions. This type of service is the foundation of citizen involvement for our county government and for the helping to shape the future of our community. We gratefully acknowledge the work of the following individuals, and certificates of appreciation have been forwarded to them. Tamara Jones, Vernaka Monteleone, Pastor Bernardo Porter. As for the JCPC, Michael Kuhn, Sarah Local Planning. September 17 through 23 of 2023 is known as Constitution Weeks and marks the 236th anniversary of its drafting. A proclamation will be adopted at the September 26th meeting, and a copy will be provided to the Major William Chronicle chapter of the Daughters of the American Revolution in its name. There's no citizens recognition. The next item is a presentation for the Gaston Aquatics update. I would now ask Ms. Donna Group Taylor, President of Gaston Aquatics, to please come up.
Hey, hold on 1 second, we're organizing this. We didn't want to block. While we're doing that, I'm Donna Group Taylor. I'm the president of Gaston Aquatics, Inc. We are a nonprofit.
They'll have to be able to see her when you're talking.
Yeah. And for any of you all, I know you were all invited to our groundbreaking on the 31st. If you didn't make it, I've got your commemorative cup and duck. Some swag. We are a nonprofit. We have been in existence since 2016, about the time we last spoke to you all. And not all of you were here then. I'm still here. We are a nonprofit, and I want to thank the commissioners and Dr. Eagle for having us here today. Let's see. I am not a technical person.
You're good, you take your time.
We're going to talk about the project itself. We're going to talk about how it's going to serve the community, and you'll hear community a lot through this. And everybody wants to know about the dollars and how we're going to move forward. This is the exterior rendering of our building, the final rendering. It's quite pretty. And if you'll notice, and we'll get into this more later, there is a bump out on the front near the car, and that's where there'll be almost a revolutionary concourse, a walk-up if you think about the Panther Stadium. So people won't have to use an elevator. So we will get to that, but that is our building that will be located at 642 West Carpenter Street in Dallas. The lower level of our facility is huge. It's 34,000 square feet. And there is an upstairs as well, and with the upstairs, it passes 58,000 square feet. There's a 50-yard competition pool. So when you think of the Olympics and Michael Phelps and Cullen Jones and Katie Ledecky, they're all swimming in the 50-meter horizontal way. So you see the 8 lanes on the image? That's 50 meters. That is more than twice the length of what you think of as a normal pool, which is 25 yards. But when you look at this pool sideways, each way you can go, it's 25 yards. So there are more than 22 lanes going sideways. Right now in the county, we have 12 covered lanes. So you can imagine how that can explode the number of lap swimmers we can have. The way this pool is arranged, we can also put what's called a bulkhead in the middle of the pool and have swimmers in competition on the 8 lanes going the normal sideways way that it looks on this screen. But then you can have practices, lap swim, lessons going on vertically on the other side of the pool. So it doesn't have to shut down for meets, for competitions. There is also, if you look further to the side, there is a smaller rectangle, and that is a programming pool. That is 25 yards long. That is revolutionary. Most programming pools are about 25 feet, not 25 yards. As our population and our community ages, people aren't going to sit on their couches and eat bonbons or Fritos. They're going to want to get exercise. And more people are having hip replacements and things like that and are needing to get in the water. It is also where we will do all of our lessons and therapy. So that is a huge part of this project. It has 0-degree entry, which means that people in wheelchairs can slide off a board. From their wheelchair, you take the arm off, you put a board down, and slide the person across into a PVC wheelchair, and they can roll right down in the pool. Also, if you're just not sure on your feet or you're nervous to get in water, you don't have to fight with steps. There's a stainless steel handrail, and you can just walk down into the pool holding onto that handrail. So it really removes all barriers from anybody who would want to use the pool. So that is this part of the facility. There is a dry land room that will have elliptical trainer, rowing machine, some weights, bands, things like that for other forms of dry land exercise. There's multi-purpose space for birthday parties, for meetings, things like that. And there are, instead of just 2 sets of locker rooms, we have created 4 locker rooms. So there will be the men's locker room for competition swim, and then a men's locker room for people who are going to the programming pool. There's a women's locker room, and then a locker room if you're going to the programming pool that is a warm pool. The programming pool is warm, and the competition pool is cold. Those pools are also separated by a hip wall so that the temperature can be controlled. It helps with humidity control, temperature control. So if I'm going to swim 1.5 miles, or if Angie's going to compete in a meet, we don't want the air to be warm or the water to be warm. We want the air to be cool and we want the water to be cool. But if you've got somebody who's in their first swim lesson, they don't want the air to be cold or the water to be cold. They're not generating that much energy themselves. So those two spaces are separated. Apparently it's better for HVAC systems. It doesn't stress them as much. And it's better, it just makes everybody happy. The two systems aren't fighting with one another. So we're trying to, with all this time we've had, we've tried to figure out ways to make this accessible and enjoyable for everybody to use the facility. The other reason it's important to know that we have the 4 locker rooms set up is there is something called Safe Sport and Swim. It's in almost any sport that you hear of now. It is a way to keep potentially bad actors away from athletes. So during meets, athletes will use the regular locker rooms, and any officials, adults, or people using the programming pool will not have access to those athletes. They will use the other side of locker rooms. It's just another safeguard that we put in place. With that being said, about Safe Sport, we now go up to the top level of the building. The top level of the building is, let's see, can anybody zoom in on the, is there a way to go?
We have it on ours.
You have it on yours? Okay. That has spectator seating for over 1,000 people. So if you are coming to see a swim meet, we can host more than 1,000 spectators and 500 swimmers on the deck. That's a lot of bodies. With the elevated spectator seating, it also goes to Safe Sport and keeps any potential bad actors away from the athletes. It is just a way to protect individuals, and we want to make sure we do that. Some of these regulations are not even in place yet, but we are anticipating them, and we do not want to have an out-of-date facility when we open. So we have looked ahead at anything we see coming down the pike, and we have gone ahead and instituted it. With over 1,000 people coming to watch and 500 people swimming, that's a lot of people coming into Gaston County and spending their money. And we like people to come in Gaston County and spend their money and not go to Huntersville and Charlotte. USA Swimming President and CEO, Tim Hinchley, has also written a letter of support for our project in Gaston County. And we have that on file and can provide it to anybody who wants it. He said our area needs this, and it will be well supported by the competitive swim community. We are located in Dallas. Like I said, it's 642 West Carpenter Street. We entered into an economic development agreement with the town of Dallas. Town of Dallas has been fantastic to deal with. If you look at this map, you see where we are. We'll be facing 321, right across from Gaston College. You don't get off on the Gaston College exit, you go up to the Dallas exit. We're right behind, so here's Gaston College, here's Ingalls, here's Carr Elementary, and there we are. That location is fantastic. We are working to partner with Gaston College in a variety of ways that will make their institution more appealing and offer different things, and they'll be great partners for us. And with our proximity, it's a natural relationship. Back to community. We will have swim instruction and aquatic proficiency. Everybody says swim lessons. And as my friend over there, Tasha, can attest, I really stress on drown proofing more than swim lessons. I swim, everybody here with us swims, but our first step is to have people not drown. There's gotta be a flashier way to say it, but right now that's what I know is drown proofing. And we're already engaged in adult learn to swim lessons. We have some of the most adult learn to swim instructors in the whole state already with Gaston Aquatics. We give lessons in my backyard pool. We give lessons at Gardner Acres through Gaston Gators. We give lessons in neighborhood pools. We've given lessons to Ghanaian refugees, to Chinese immigrants, to local folks here, to people at Covenant Village. We will try to drown-proof anybody we can. We'll grab people at food banks and take them to drown-proof them if we can. We are trying to break down those generational barriers and make people more safe and also economically mobile, socially mobile, and make everyone be on equal playing field. We'll have pediatric lessons, of course. We will have adaptive aquatics. We will have lessons for specific lessons through a Swim Whisperer program for citizens on the autism spectrum. Citizens on the autism spectrum have 160 times more likely to have a drowning incident than typically developing folks. We want to help overcome that barrier. Within Gaston County schools and Lincoln County schools, approximately 14% of the student population is designated as EC or exceptional. That spills over into the rest of the population. If the school-age population is 14% EC, the general population is 14% EC. We want to work with that community with adaptive aquatics, with tone, with drown proofing, and different opportunities in the water, different skills. I went to the bank the other day to make a deposit, and a teller stopped me, and I don't know her, and she said, "You're the lady with the shovel who's teaching people how to swim." And I said, "Well, I am the lady with the shovel, and I am teaching people how to swim." She said, "Well, I can't swim, and I can't ever learn." And I said, "Yes, you can. Email me." She's already emailed, and she's going to start swim lessons. We are trying to make this something that everybody wants to do. Training and competition, it will be the home of the Gaston Gators, which is a team, a USA Swim team, our local USA Swim team that's been around for over 30 years. It can host up to high school regionals, and the region is very enthusiastic about coming to Gaston County because it's Charlotte West. So we are in a perfect location to host high school regionals. Any of the regional colleges that have swim teams or get swim teams, we are a big enough facility to host up to their conference championships. We've already confirmed that. We have enough space for that. So when you think about swim meets and you think about the 500 swimmers and you think about the 1,200 spectators, you can think about the economic development there and the use of hotels, restaurants. How many times I've been on trips and I've had to go to Dick's Sporting Good or Target or pick up a Starbucks. I can't even tell you how much money we spend when we go out of town for swim meets. I think Mike Applegate can attest to how much he's spent going to swim meets over the years. So it will be an enormous economic driver. These are dollars that we've never had spent here before. When the USA Swim Team Gaston Gators has its 2 home meets a year, we rent a facility in Huntersville, so we pay Huntersville for us all to drive to Huntersville and eat in Huntersville and buy things in Huntersville. And everybody that comes from Watauga County and, Wilkes and all of those places, they go to Huntersville and stay in hotels in Huntersville for the Gaston County meet. We want to remedy that problem. With therapy and wellness, we have a lot of opportunities. We are working with physical therapists and occupational therapists. Therapy that is done in water, I'm not going to say you get better results, but you do get faster results because of the resistance of the water. So we're working with therapists. We won't have our own therapists. They will come in and work and take their own notes and be in charge of their own things. They will just rent space from us. But once that therapy is done, you get your 8 visits of therapy, and then you're sent out into the world and told to exercise. Most people aren't ready to go out into the world and exercise. They're not there yet. So there is this mid-level that we're trying to create and bridge, which is called Aquatic Therapy and Rehab. It's through an ATRI institute. And it will be that bridge between finishing therapy and having an injury and then going out into the world and exercising. So it is targeted exercise specifically designed for different injuries or different parts of your body that you've had, you know, a hip replacement. Then you'll go to the lower extremity ATR class. And we will have instructors for that. We will also be able to hopefully begin to train people for job readiness to become those types of exercise therapists and instructors. We talked about wheelchairs and the accessibility. If you have been in a wheelchair, or you know anybody who's been in a wheelchair, the way gravity pulls them down into a chair is painful. Their joints hurt, their backs hurt, their bottoms hurt, everything hurts. Well, you put them down in water and they rise up. Even the movement of the water against their arms and legs, their appendages, that is exercise. It's exercise for them. It also is relieving pressure on those parts of the body. The end of the programming pool will have a variable speed jet. It can be used so that people who do not have mobility can just sit, and having that current against them will be exercise. It will improve their outcomes. If you have a soccer player who's injured a knee, that person can get space and time to go and exercise against that variable speed jet to recover. That's one of the things that we've talked about with Gaston College and different places, school system and things who have athletes, is their ability to use the pool not only for swimming, but for their other athletes and for training. If you ask any collegiate athlete what their worst day of practice is, if they're baseball players, football players, basketball players, their worst day of training is the swim day. If you ask Chris Lang, if you ask the baseball players at the Abbey, they'll all say that the worst day is the swim day. It's the hardest. First responder training. We will have water that's 7 feet deep. Our first responders in Gaston County will not have to rent space out of county, drive out of county for pool training. They will still, for that we can't do anything about swift water. But for anything that is in pool, we have the ability to provide that kind of training, and that's another area that we're going to work with Gaston College. Veteran support. We have a lieutenant colonel in the Marine Reserves on our board, and he is not a swimmer. His kids aren't swimmers. But he was drawn to this project for the economic development. He was also drawn to it because he said, I want you all to develop something for veterans. I said, well, great, help us. He said, talk therapy is good, but we are active people. So he helped us with some other folks, with some swim people and, you know, alts instructors and another lieutenant colonel retired from the Air Force. We all put our heads together and came up with a program where we can provide a safe space for veterans to come together, have camaraderie, you know, check in on each other, have expectations, also get some exercise. Their knees hurt, their backs hurt, they've carried 45-pound packs, you know, all of that. They want to get in the water, have the therapeutic aspects, have the competitive aspects, have the athletic aspects, and be together. And so they said that type of serotonin is probably better than what they get during talk therapy. So they're excited about that. And we have begun to talk with the fire department and the police department in Dallas about joining in on that, because a lot of the veteran experience is a shared experience with our first responders. And there's a lot of overlap in those two groups as well. And so we're going to merge not the first responder training, but first responder programming with our veteran programming starting this fall. So we'll be serving those two groups with programming. And all of that part is covered by grants. People don't have to pay to come to do that. Financial overview. We received $4.22 million in matching grant from the state of North Carolina. To date, we have 3.22 of that in the bank, paperwork ready, submitted to get the remaining $1 million from the state. We have not spent any of that money. We have been good stewards of the state funds and have kept them in the bank. Other funding sources: First Gaston Fund, Gaston Community Foundation, the Timken Foundation, First Horizon Bank and Foundation, Glenn Foundation, and many Gaston County businesses and families. Gaston County, through its tourism development dollars, is also one of our sponsors. These are the different naming rights that have been obtained to this point. The spectator viewing area, and that's what we were talking about. I hear estimates of between 1,000 and 1,304 people can be in that spectator section. That's a lot of eyes on Gaston County tourism development. And there will be TV banks in that spectator area. And as the people are competing in between events, our different sponsors will be on there with advertising. So if there's a big, if there's something big going on downtown, tourism development can send us a file and it will pop up there. We can show pictures of Crowder's Mountain, use the logo for the county, all of that will show up on there. All of our sponsors get that kind of time. They're also going to be rotating on our scoreboard. GSM Services is sponsoring that programming pool. EFP Brands, which is Hungry Howie's and Penn Station Subs, is sponsoring the scoreboard. Choice USA, because if we're in Gaston County, Choice Beverage has to be involved. They've got the lobby, Warren & Associates Payroll and Accounting, and the Robinson family have the Dryland Training Room. Locker room, Gaston and Cleveland Orland Maxillofacial Surgery, and the lifeguards will have Watson Insurance t-shirts that say protecting what's important. There are other naming rights still available. And when you look at those images, First Gaston Fund, GSM, Choice Beverage, Gaston County, the state, Community Foundation, that is Gaston County. And that's what we're trying to represent, is everybody. We were first here in 2016. That's when we started. That's when a group of parents got together and said, hey, let's build an aquatic center. It'll be fun. Well, we're 7 years later. We got the board action in 2019 approved for the sponsorship of the spectator seating area. We had our groundbreaking on August 31st of this year. We're going to start construction once we get the last set of plans back that the county can approve. When we added the concourse and took out the elevator, it had to go back to engineering. So everyone will be seeing the final drawings soon, and hopefully those will get approved, and we will start construction. And it's a 10.5-month build, which means it's a year build in real time. So we hope to have facility implementation late fall of 2024. We hope to have the high school swim season in 2024-25. I want to thank you all for having us. I tried to cover as much as I could, but not take too much time. But there are just a few other things that I want to say. When we invited people to speak at the groundbreaking, there were some obvious candidates, but I didn't know what people were going to say, and it flowed beautifully. But when Dr. Pastor Rodney Freeman, and I don't know if you all know him from Bountiful Blessings and Mount Zion Restoration Church, talked about the way he changed his life through us. I'm not going to say we changed his life. He changed his own life through us by learning how to swim. And now his wife is learning how to swim. And it changes what they think about, what they do, how they vacation, and how safe they feel, and how many fears they've overcome. It meant a lot to me. And when I heard Stephen Long with GSM say, yeah, it's great that this is going to be economic development. It's great that we're going to have more competitive swim. But this is going to impact the community. This is going to bring people together. This is going to help kids. Those words mean a lot to me because this is about community. We hope and we intend in a big way or a small way to touch every life in Gaston County, and I think that's feasible. I want to thank you all for having us, and we will make Gaston County stronger, healthier, faster, safer, and more economically sound.
Any questions from the board at this time? Well, thank you guys so much for
gosh.
coming, and it's been an awesome presentation. Thank you.
I was expecting a barrage. Does anybody need any cups or
You can
donuts?
leave them, and Donna will motion to accept those.
And by the way, Donna's fantastic.
Motion made by Commissioner Hovis, seconded by myself. All in favor? Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
It is unanimous, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. The next presentation will be from Mr. Neil Brennan, the Executive Director of Lake Wiley Marine Commission. Mr. Brennan. You need to get something, young lady? Are you good?
Oh, no, I was just scared I'd messed him up.
No problem.
No, we're good, thank you. Good evening, Commissioners, Mr. Chairman, members of the council, commissioners. I want to thank you for having me again. I'd like to bring you up to date on what we've been doing for the last year or so on the Lake Wiley Marine Commission. Our mission statement hasn't changed. We're still here to promote public policies and support regulations to preserve the lake and educate the citizens and keep everybody safe when they use this beautiful natural resources. I want to talk about these few areas this evening, and I'll get right into those areas now. Safety, we are required by law to maintain the no-wake buoys in North Carolina. South Carolina takes care of their no-wake buoys, and both states take care of the danger buoys that you see out on the lake. With regard to pollution, we joined the Catawba Riverkeeper in the basin-wide cleanup. We used to run it ourselves for about 15 years or so. They came in and said, look, we want to combine forces to do a basin-wide. We said, that's fine, thank you. Now they've got a full staff that takes it over, and Ellen Goff of York County and I used to run the whole thing. At any rate, we partner with them now, and we got one coming up on October the 7th. Last year it was canceled because of the hurricane, the threat of it. We get donations from local businesses, and Gaston, York, and Mecklenburg County provide the dumpsters that we set out at all the sites, so we don't have to pay for that. With regard to the environment, hydrilla control, we've had a problem with hydrilla out in Belmont. There's a couple of little patches out there that have popped up. Years past, we get these carp that they bring down in a big tanker. They're sterile carp, and they eat this stuff down. They didn't need to put any more of them in this year, but there's a couple little spot areas down there by Lofton Park that we partnered with Duke, the state, in paying for some chemicals that are environmentally friendly to almost everything except the hydrilla. So we're combating that this way. The other thing is another invasive species is this alligator weed that's cropped up along, and the only way to get rid of that stuff is yank it out. There's some thrips, which are little bugs that have been developing that'll eat this stuff down over the years. That's a long-term solution, but manual extraction is where you have to go these days. We also sponsor in South Carolina the Clean Marina program, and you can see the areas that we inspect for those marinas who voluntarily join us to have us inspect them. If they meet the criteria of all those areas, then we give them a Clean Marina flag that they can fly. In North Carolina, we used to do it in North Carolina. The state has taken that over. They run their own now up here. The reason, there's one in South Carolina also, but it's not voluntary. They have to pay to join it, and they have to send their people off to training for a day, half a day somewhere. And surprisingly, it's also volunteer, but nobody signed up for it, so we're filling that void as they desire. In your folder that I gave you, there's a copy of the latest water quality sample that we get from Charlotte Water Services. They sample the water every 2 months and give us a report. This one you have there is from July. The September report's coming out here in a couple of weeks. I don't have that one yet. But you can see the things that they look at there. They're talking about E. coli in particular is the big bugaboo that we want to make sure that that's below levels. And indeed, one of the things that we've done is partner again with the Catawba Riverkeeper on their swim guides. Lake Wiley Marine Commission sponsors 2 swim guides. There's many around the lake and up and down the Catawba River. They go out and sample for E. coli and other things on Thursdays during the summer, and then on Friday they put the word out, any area that's not safe to go swimming, you can go on their website and find out where not to swim. So we help in that regard as well. That program is over now, ended on Labor Day. It's during the summer months. So there's that. Law enforcement. One of the things that we do for law enforcement is we provide chem lights. A couple of the folks from these are red, green, and white chem lights. We made up packages of these in these little baggies for law enforcement to have on board the boats, so that if they come across somebody at night that their lights have failed, or they don't have them, or they're out after dark, they can help. As the former police gentleman here they talked about, hey, we're here to help. We're not just enforce, but also to help people. So we've given them some tools to help them help people. So we've provided these to the various law enforcement agencies. They have them on their boats. They come across somebody and give them to them. We provide life jackets to them as well. In case there's somebody out there that has the wrong size, like they've got a big 2-1, a life jacket's too big for an infant, we've got them there to give to them so they don't have to ruin their day and go off the lake and go get one or issue a citation again. The idea of helping the police help the people who enjoy our lake. We also recently bought some HF radios for the York County Sheriff's Department and a couple of fire departments, Charlotte Fire and the Steel Creek Fire Department, so that when there's an emergency, they can all talk to one another. Apparently the radios didn't all jibe, so now they can do that based on some radios that we were able to provide. Well, not a lot of them, just a couple for the boats that are out there. We also provided some medical supplies recently to Mecklenburg County. They came up with a list of things they'd like to have on their boat. We're also looking at a flat board now for the Steel Creek people. The fire boat at Belmont's got one of those flat boards. They asked for one. We're looking at to see if we can help them with that. We also recently provided some funds to Gaston County Police for a side-looking sonar that they can use when they're out searching for people that may have succumbed to the water, helping their search and rescue effort there. I think I briefed you last year about a Title 44 Code of Federal Regulations. This is a regulation that says if you build a dock in this country, there's a federal law, you have to have an hydraulic and hydrologic survey conducted to make sure that your dock is not going to increase the flood levels during the 100-year flood. This law was put in effect in 1976, and recently someone has got the idea that maybe we ought to enforce this law. Now, I've talked to a couple of, and I've put a letter that we wrote to our state representatives and our state senators in both North Carolina and South Carolina. And basically it says you can't get there from here. I've got 2 dock builders, one in North Carolina, one in South Carolina, said I can't build a dock that would trip this wire. But that law is in effect. Now, the reason this came to light is Gaston County was audited in 1922. And, we didn't have that going on, but we do now. So the data that I have earlier this year, there were, I think, somewhere 22 of these things, permits that were reviewed, that were issued. Many of them, I think 7 or 8 of them were in the floodway. This is where this occurs, in the floodway. None of them tripped a wire, okay? Just, you can't get there from here. So that's why I wrote this letter to the legislator to say, would you make this thing go away? Would you at least give us a waiver for Lake Wiley or whatever? Somebody, I think, is misinterpreting this regulation. Not sure, but anyway, this is the kind of thing that we're doing, looking out for our citizens here. My neighbor had to pay $10,000 to have these surveys done. That's what it costs. And it doesn't go to the government, it goes to a civilian contractor. So we're tilting at that windmill, okay, on behalf of the citizens of Lake Wiley. I think I briefed you last year about some regulations that we talked about enacting, and we did with your help and the help of Bill Stetzer there and some of the other attorneys, Mr. Amos and some of the attorneys in Mecklenburg County. South Carolina passed a regulation say, hey, you got to stay 50 feet away from docks, otherwise you got to proceed at idle speed. And they also passed, that's been on their books for years. They also passed a rule last year that said, okay, you wake surfers, you have to stay 200 feet away. You want to get within 200 feet, you got to be at idle speed. Wake surf out in the channel, basically, is what they're saying. So we enacted these regulations with the help of you folks. I briefed you on this last year. We enacted it this year. And one of the things that we did, we were required to post this new regulation at least 3 places around the lake. That's state law. And we have to file this with the Secretaries of State when we enact this. And we enact it based on the state laws in North Carolina and South Carolina that allows us to do that. Now, we haven't done this very often at all. I've been associated with the Lake Wylie Marine Commission for 10 years now. We have never done it. But this seemed to be something that we needed to have. So we posted not just this, and there's a sample of this in the folder I gave you. We posted not just the new regulation, but we posted all the regulations that have to do with boats, idle speed, and personal watercraft. They're, talking about jet skis. So that when somebody sees the new law, they can see both the old one that was in place in South Carolina and the new ones that we've anticipated for North Carolina enacted here. And the other thing we did, and I also gave you in your folder, one of these little cards. And I have to wear my glasses to read this thing, and I see Bill's, you gotta hold your arms out a little longer. Anyway, the print is kind of fine, all right, small. But basically what this does is encapsulates the rules on this little card. We gave these to the police officers, along with their chem lights, okay, along with the radios or whatever it was, so that they could hand these to people when they came across them to help familiarize them with the new rules. This is going to take a while to sink in. We recognize that. And before we did this, we went to the police and we said, hey, are you guys okay with this? And the police officer said, yeah, they're okay with it. Then I went and briefed you all, and then I briefed the Mecklenburg County commissioners. Got everybody trying to sing Kumbaya, make sure we weren't stepping on anybody's toes, and then we went ahead and pulled the trigger and enacted this regulation. And again, it talks about wake surfing and boats and so on. One of the commissioners from Mecklenburg suggested, 50 feet, that's kind of, how can people relate to that? So we put in the thing that 50 feet's about four lanes on I-85. It's about four lanes, so people can relate. Okay, I can figure what 4 lanes is. So I can't wait to brief Mecklenburg County and tell them we did what that lady said, Ms. Connie, I think it was. Anyway, so we've been buoyed by that, all right? The fact that we enacted this regulation. We've had a couple of horror stories come from our law enforcement people here on Lake Wylie that have to do with charter boat rentals and jet ski and boat rentals. Lake Norman Marine Commission, with whom we chat from time to time, find out what they're doing, what are we doing. They've had a charter boat regulation on their lake for several years, since 2005, I think it is. And they're updating it. And they also recently found a need for regulations about boat rentals and jet ski rentals. Well, we have some really entrepreneurial individuals in the county who would like to make some money, and that's all well and good. But when they rent a boat out that they probably are not qualified to rent out as a charter boat captain, there are certain Coast Guard regulations you have to have for that. Or if they rent a jet ski that's not really seaworthy. Had one instance where a jet ski was rented and it failed. So the guy who rented it called the guy from whom he rented it. He came over on a jet ski and that one sank. So Fortunately, there's some U.S. Coast Guard auxiliary people on scene. They bailed them out and saved them and got them back to shore. York County Sheriff's Department reported at our meeting last month, I think it was, 2 months ago, that one of these entrepreneurs had rented his pontoon boat to take some folks out to an island so they could party out there. Great idea. Enjoy the lake, enjoy the island, have some fun. And then he left them there. He didn't go get them. So I got a little late at night, so York County Sheriff's Office had to go bail these folks out and bring them back to dry land, other dry land. So what we're trying to do here is we've drafted up a regulation that encompasses both charter boats and rental boats and personal and vessels. Vessels encompasses both boats and jet skis. So we're running that through the wickets. What I intend to do is run that by the police officers. I've already gotten a couple of nods from Gaston County Police that, gee, that sounds like a good idea. We understand the need for that. And so we'll run it up the flagpole down in South Carolina with the York County Sheriff's Department and the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police. I think everybody's in agreement that, yeah, the time has come to maybe we better get our arms around this thing. We can make this happen a lot more quickly than the legislature can, as you probably are aware. Even though it took us about a year to get the last one through, we'll muddle through here and see if we can't get this one going. And again, we used the Lake Norman Marine Commission as a model. Sedimentation. I've been blowing this horn for every time I've talked to you over the last several years. That sedimentation is like cancer on the lake. And we have set up a boat. Some of you shipmates, as I call y'all, some of you have been shipmates with me on a boat ride that we took a couple of years ago on the South Fork. And we got another one coming up on the 28th, and I understand that's the same night as a big to-do over at the Shield Museum. So I understand if y'all can't make that one. Tom, or Commissioner Kager, you wanted to come one night and one day, and the pollen was just overwhelming. So if this is not a good night for y'all, we'll schedule another one, because they say a picture is worth 1,000 words. Let me tell you, going for a boat ride up the South Fork River is worth 1,000 pictures. That place, Commissioner Worley used to water ski there as a youngster. You can't do that anymore. It's about, the main area there is about, I don't know, 2 feet deep or so. If you fell off your ski there, you'd plant yourself in the mud. There's a channel now off to the port side, the left-hand side as you head north, that's marked. We had to mark it. I had to get this North Carolina Wildlife Resources people to move their buoys, their danger buoys. Remember, they take care of those. We had to ask them to move them so that people would not go up the main area because it was just too shallow. So that's on the horizon. If y'all can't make the 28th, I'll find another day that's suitable. I'll work with Ms. Buff on that. The other thing we've done is we're looking at some enhanced stormwater and erosion control measures that we're suggesting for the South Fork River and indeed for the county. York County upgraded theirs a couple of years ago after they had a couple of blowouts, one over in Torrance Creek. That was a development in Mecklenburg County that came over and spilled into Torrance Creek, which is in South Carolina. They had another one on Bonham Road down there. I mean, the stormwater control measures failed, and we had just, you know, buckets of mud and stuff going in. A couple of people's piers over there were wrecked. They still can't get out. I think I briefed you that we're part of the memorandum of understanding with the South Fork River Health Project that's headed up by the Catawba Riverkeeper people. There's several agencies and townships that we're trying to get some of these enhanced stormwater control measures in place. And it's not just the construction, okay, that's these big developments that are adding to this. It's as we've learned, is bank erosion from livestock in the 3 counties on the South Fork River. There's no buffer protections. State law has a buffer protection 50 feet in the main channel, but that doesn't extend all the way up to South Fork. So if we can get some more buffer rules in place, okay, then we might be able to stem some of this sedimentation. I've had people who, I can't use my dock anymore, and at least one of our commissioners, Brad Thomas, had to dredge, going with his neighbors to dredge so they could get out to the main channel. Now, under the leadership of Brian Skiba, who's here tonight, Brian could say it, you've implemented, Gaston County has implemented some new things that were not in place before. Now grading permits are issued only after these enhanced stormwater control measures are in place and approved by the county. No permits are issued before any rezoning that has to happen. That was, you know, you'd get these permits to clear, and then, oh, we can't rezone, so I guess we'll just have to get up, and they've, you know, cleared an area, taken away the thing that holds the soil in place. And I want to, and then they have a phase clearing of these big sites now, so they don't do it all at once, so they control it. I thank Brian for making sure that stuff happens. And I thank you all for giving him the increased funding so he can get some more inspectors out there. So that's a big deal. Appreciate your support on that one. Where there's some more opportunities that we're looking at, all right, and Brian and his team are assessing whether these things are reasonable or not, or whether we should implement them or not, like either a double or a high hazard silt fencing within 100 feet of streams. Some of the counties already have that. Another thing we talked about, and I think Rusty Roselle gave you a presentation a couple of years ago at some of the things they do over there with a monitor that's put downstream of these sediment basins, so that if something's going squirrely, we can tell whether it's coming from the sediment basin or whether it's just naturally coming from upstream. If the alarm goes off, you've got a third party that can go out and check this thing and say, okay, do we need to do anything, or is this just because of a heavy rain, whatever. But it's kind of like taking a dipstick after you change your oil. You know, did the oil go in the car, or did it go somewhere else? You take your dipstick out, you wipe it off, yeah, it went there. It's kind of like testing it to see if it works. And expanding the buffer requirements. Another thing we're looking at, the idea here is to, and also post-construction, have a bigger retention pond. And a lot of these things were negotiated with the Del Webb project that's right here, okay? So we're looking to see if these things make sense to implement a standard operating procedure. Not all of them will, okay? Not all the things that were implemented for Del Webb are needed in other areas. So we'll see how that goes. But the idea is to get our act together here in Gaston County with whatever new improvements we deem appropriate based on the inputs from Brian and Joseph Alm and his people and his crowd, and recommendations from other folks, and say, hey, how about Lincoln and Catawba, y'all follow suit? We're not going to solve this ourselves, okay? It's the whole thrust of the South Fork project is to get some help upstream, because it's, as you know, it flows downstream. We also engaged the shoreline water conservation districts in all 3 counties to improve the agricultural use and land conservation. That's a big mouthful of words. It says, hey, can we build some fences along the river up there, and maybe drill some wells so your animals won't have to go down and wreck the bank while they go to drink, okay? So that's the idea. And then once we get this together, we'll take it up to the state level and see if we can get some, if needed. Education, we also provide a little input to the Catawba Watery Water Management Group's Citizens Water Academy. You can go online and look at, it's pretty much the same presentation every year. You can go online to that Citizens Water Management Academy and look at the presentation. Some of them are pretty interesting. We write a monthly newsletter, except December, and we show up at the boat show and the Catawba Riverkeeper Foundation Riverfest and the Garibaldi festivals, put out some of the pamphlets like the one I put in your folder there of who we are, what we do, and why we do it. And then there's another one that's really interesting. If you go on our fantastic website, and it is a fantastic website, LakeWileyMarineCommission.com, and you'll see under the environment section, appropriately so, there's a segment called Why is Lake Wiley Brown? It gives a real good explanation of how come we're so brown and some of the other lakes aren't. Anyway, that's my story. I'm going to stick to it for the time being. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to entertain them.
Any questions from the board at this time? Mr. Worley?
Not necessarily a question, but I just thank Neil and the Marine Commission for all of the work that you do protecting what is one of our most valuable resources for our county. A lot of the regulations you talk about is protecting folks that have invested in our county, and they have property and will continue to invest. And people want to be able to use this, but because I speak to people on a regular basis that, just like you mentioned, Mr. Thomas, that they had waterfront property and then they didn't. They had They
Yeah.
had mudfront property, and that's sad in a way, but it also affects just the lives of everyone that uses the lake. So thank you for all you do, though. And the 28th, I'll look forward to being there on the 28th.
Oh, appreciate that, sir. Good. Yeah, you know, there are islands in the South Fork that weren't there before, and you can attest to that. You've been around longer than I have, so you know about that. The other thing, there was some talk a while ago that some of these enhanced stormwater control measures might deter people from, developers from investing, and might scare people away because the costs would be passed on to the owners of these new lots. That's true. That's true. The cost of all the things that we did for the Del Webb project, $200 per lot. I couldn't figure out how much that would be on a 30-year mortgage. So the argument that this is too costly and it's going to scare people away, you want to live on the lake, you want to live on the river, you want to live in a waterfront community, you ought to pay something to protect it. And these enhanced stormwater control measures, the cost is minimal, but the benefit may be really quite significant. Thank you for your
Any other questions
question.
from the board at this time? Seeing none, thank you, Mr. Brennan, but you need to change that in your thing. It's why is Lake Wiley Chad Brown. All right. This concludes our work session for tonight. Our next regular work session is Tuesday, September 26th, 6 p.m. here in the Harley B. Gaston Junior Public Forum Courthouse. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, please make those remitted to Donna S. Buff at 704-866-3196. Good night, Lawyer Justin.